All right, how many of you have gotten away with the perfect crime? Better yet, the perfect prank. In high school, that was everyone's job. Your friends pranked each other, you sometimes pranked teachers, you usually got in trouble for that. This is a story about my dad in 1981, and he blew up his math teacher's front window just for fun. It was spring of 1981, it was my dad's senior year. He was the big jock of high school, everybody knew him. Teachers hated him. Why? Because they always thought he had stuff handed to him. That wasn't the case though. They just, they had that persona about him. It was sixth period, and he was in Mr. Foster's math class. I'll never forget, because he tells me this story repeatedly, every family dinner. He goes, Mr. Foster walked in and goes, everyone's failing this test today. And he kind of looked at him like strangely, like, are you joking? He gave him the hardest test of the year. He failed everyone. It was sixth period. They all got to leave for lunch, and they had this great idea of, we need to get this guy back. How are we going to do it? My dad looked at my friend, Mike Moeller, who they call Mole Man. He goes, Mole, what do you got? He goes, I got a bunch of M80s in my house. What do you want to do with it? My dad goes, perfect. Bring about 100 of them over to Mr. Foster's house on Beechwood Avenue at this time. Shortly after, it was the end of the day, because they get out of like 8th period, which is around 2:30 in the day. So they got my dad's car, and they drove like a bat out of hell to Beechwood Avenue because they had to beat Mr. Foster to his house. So they went on Beechwood, and they set up 100 M80s on a window the size of that on his house, and they wired it up with a long fuse that was about 300 yards long. They drove over 2 Avenue. They drove over to Pine, and they drove over to Oak. They lit it, and then they just started to look at their watch and started to drive slowly. They drove over through Oak. They drove over through Pine, and then right as they were passing Beechwood Avenue, right on time, Mr. Foster was pulling into his driveway. They drove by the house, they honked their horn, and they went, boom, 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 boom. The window shattered, he hit the deck, and I'm pretty sure he wet himself. This is how he described the story. His window was destroyed, and their hands were clean and free of evidence. Because they were driving by, they were saying hi. It was the perfect crime, and no one ever found out about it. Moral of the story is, I guess you can't really get away with anything you used to, because now you will go to jail.